Okay. It's all right. Well, we've arrived at Plantworx for another good day, getting really into the details of some equipment, seeing what we can find, and to meet good people as well. So, looking forward to seeing what's there. Got a couple of things in mind that I want to go and see, and hopefully I can show you around some of the kit that's about Plantworx 2023. So on the cat stand, got a good variety of stuff, a couple of 8-tonners on display, a couple of loading shovels and some small mini machines. But I'm really interested in the 302.7, of course a class of machine I drive quite a bit. And what is really impressive is the service access on this machine is phenomenal. Cabs up, back doors all right, but there's just no stuff anywhere. It's just completely clear. Nice access to the radiator. It's been really well thought out, this machine. External fuel cap, you can get jerry can to it, but look how much room you get with this cab in the air. And there's nothing on the underside of the cab floor, which means you don't need no oil over oil, no servo pipes. It's just so clean. You can access absolutely everything from under the cab, which is really impressive. Haven't driven one yet, don't know how they drive. Of course they do come with aircon, which is of big interest to us as we get hotter. It's certainly hot enough here today, you'd want aircon. But yeah, I look forward to driving this machine one day. The arm isn't the biggest, is my sort of thoughts on it. You know, it's probably comparable to like the KX27, that size, but it's not up there with the 8026 or the KX30, or maybe in the TB230, you know, and it doesn't have the biggest back end on it either. I know Cat had some issues with this and they've had to add a bit of counterweight. So there's been some delays to this model coming out, but otherwise a very smart machine. And you have to say, with all the technology exactly the same in all these machines as they are in the 8-tonners, there's a lot to like. Lot to like. The only thing we noticed was that you're welded on the top here, but they haven't welded. They've obviously probably welded it from the underside, but a little bit of a shame that you've got just these tacks. And I don't know, for me, I'd rather they sort of welded it for the bit you could see. Small details maybe, but that'll just collect water, shit, potentially start rusting. I think on this side there was a little bit already possibly, but it is really small details. Otherwise a tidy old little machine, this from Cat. I'd like to give one a go. So Chinese manufacturer XCMG have put on a big display here at Plantworx of all sizes of machine. We've got 20-tonners at the back, the 14-tonners, 2.7s, the 1.5s, 3.5. They've got little master forklifts over there. There's a great range here. Looking at the 2.7s, a machine we're very familiar with. Jason's going to model it like our lovely Debbie McGee. I see this as being quite Kubota inspired, and why wouldn't you? Because obviously they are the market leader in this kind of machine. I mean, this is all very, very Kubota-ish. There's no aircon, Jason. You don't get that in these little things. I do like this little quick hitch. I think that is a cute little hydraulic quick hitch on there. GTS. I'm not sure who that brand is, but I think that's a really nice little. Some of them are a bit bulky and they have a tendency to be way too big at the back, but that is quite a cute hitch. You look at the welding quality, there isn't really anything to say. I've struggled to find bad welding on this machine. There's a few bits. I mean, it hasn't got a cast king post, and I question about that. It does have the big stop-start. Yeah, we need to stop, don't you? It does have a cup holder though, mate. It does have a cup holder. But there's not a lot that you could hate on this machine. You struggle to hate them, and I'd say that's the theme very much of this show. You would struggle to find something that you don't like about it. The door to me could fit in this way a bit better. It's a little bit catchy there. It certainly sticks out at the front, but the Kubota has that issue as well. I don't think, oh, the engine's open. We've got a little Kubota engine in it. So Kubota at least are getting some kickback from having most of the design copied. I think underneath here, oh, that's now locked, but you've got your fueling under there and various bits. But there isn't, as I say, there's not a lot to hate really, and you get inside it. Switch gear down on the right hand side. They do like a massive stop button, but that's fine. It's a nice straightforward basic machine. Very familiar switches, comes straight out of a JCB really. Throttle, and the dozer lever is a lovely little stubby thing that I mean, providing it drives okay, is really nicely. Look, you can actually do that with your little finger and still keep your hand on the joystick, which is quite a nice little touch. So, not as I say, windscreen fits very well up here. You know, would it rattle after time? I don't know. These are the questions, aren't they? Is how well it lasts. Because sat here at a show, nice big tracking pedals. Very difficult to find anything you don't like. I mean, the tracking pedals do go a little bit far apart if you're trying to use your hands. There's all this gap here, but very usable tracking pedals. Some of the better ones I've seen in this class machine, to be honest. Fold up okay, nice flat floor. Legroom is very good. Seat is pretty comfy. You know, not a lot to hate. I mean, looks like Rexroth joysticks. You'd struggle to find something you don't like, and I'm sure the price is very appealing as well. But there is a common theme with all of these Chinese manufacturers for me, which I'll come on to when we've reviewed a few more of them. So we've got our Expert 14 and 20 ton Expert here. He's in the XE150E, which I think is XCMG for your success, Jason. How are you finding this machine?
I've got some funny features here. We've got a lovely charging point under the armrest that doesn't lift up.
Okay, yeah. Difficult to get your charger into. And of course, you should be working, not charging your phone.
Oh yeah. We've got a bit of, see this here, that gets rid of the jolt on the tracking.
Oh, I see. Also, if you have these buttons like the work lights on or the lift mode, it would also hit that. But you can adjust that, mate. Yeah. There is, you know, some adjustability.
Also turn on flashing light there.
It's nice. It's nice. Yeah. So that's the thing with these machines. Some of them have clearly been Europeanized.
Very light levers.
Yeah, but they're not on yet, are they?
No, they're heavy as hell.
Oh.
Really heavy. It'd be like Popeye if they had it. Yeah,
see, I found interesting bits that, like, they run their own track chains. You can't quite see on the camera, but they're actually XCMG track chains. And the question is, you know, how good's the quality of the metal? Because, you know, there were some early Hyundais and things where the track chains are wearing out after 1,000 hours, and that's really going to be the key with these bigger machines, is the quality of metal. Because the build, you certainly can't really argue with. All this welding is, I mean, a lot of it, of course, done by robot, but, you know, very tidy. Difficult to find, but will the quality of metal last? I think we need a few more people to run them for 5+ years and really see how they, how they do. I'm sure in China they're a well-regarded machine, but I think it's going to take a little bit more than that for the UK market to really get behind these new brands coming into the UK. We've come down to the Hydromet stand. There's a nice couple of backhoes here. Topical machine for me at the moment. The new K4 Hydromet. These machines are made in Turkey and are quite 3CX inspired. You know, you look at them from a glance, if they were painted yellow, you could be mistaken for thinking that. But in a way, that's no bad thing, because they've kind of taken their own spin on it, and there's some improvements on this machine over the 3CX. There's a couple of things that I don't think they've quite got nailed. So starting off, the front end looks a bit longer here. There's definitely more room between the shovel and the front of the counterweight. Now this one does have the quick hitch, obviously, for the bucket. But whether that will improve visibility to the front shovel or not, of course, is remains to be seen if we drove one. But I kind of like that idea. You can, especially when you have the forks mounted on the carriage and they're not on the front of the bucket. When you take the bucket off and you get your forks folded out, it's very difficult to actually see the angle from the cab of what you're actually trying to get into, your pallet. So making that a bit longer should, in theory, help that. It has got quite a wide shovel on it, and the depth here on this front jaw section looks to me to be bigger than the JCB for sure. So, welcome to get it, Jason. Go for it, mate. I mean, walking around, you know, from what we can see, there's again a lot of similarities on things. Jason's just getting in to experience the 4 cup holders of the machine. I'll just walk you through, mate, where the cup holders are. We've got cup holder number 1 here.
Number 2 is already occupied.
Number 2 has been occupied. There's another 2 though behind you, so no matter which way you're facing, cup holders plenty. Yeah, we've got one down there. There's one on the back as well, I think. So you've got a little cool box in here. I think the cab is an improvement actually on the JCB. A little bit wider, feels a lot longer as well. The overall length of this machine in the cab, to me, feels longer. There's a lot of room there, isn't there? You do sit way too far back, yeah. But I don't know if that was because the seat was down yesterday. Because of the air seat, it needs firing up, doesn't it? This one's got the sliding rear power slide. Obviously, in this sort of spec, you get your extending rear actor as well. It looks like plenty of strengthening in the right places, and I certainly have no fear really on that. They haven't. There's this top bar with this sliding system that to me restricts again a bit of visibility, especially with how far back you sit in the machine. Bit of a shame. The other thing I thought was the legs don't, to me, look like when they're retracted that you have that much, maybe a bit less sort of departure angle there, or you know, your legs can end up in the dirt a bit. But looking around the fit and finish, there's a lot to like as well about it. It's quite a nice looking machine, easy enough to get into your dev. But I don't know. For me, they're reportedly a bit cheaper than the JCBs. Mind you, with the cost of these higher spec JCBs these days, that wouldn't be impossible to achieve. But you do get a good spec. So this one is, say, joysticks in the cab. You've got all your switchgear stuff down on the side. Now the screen is over here, which I think shows your dials, and then you've got another one here when you're facing forward. I'm not so sure about that. Yes, it gives you a good sort of visibility at the front, and the seat is down in this, so you'd think you'd sit up a little bit. This is quite a nice dashboard. The, you know, the steering wheel feels quite posh. Lovely foot control to bring that all back up. That's all quite nice, but fundamentally, there's bits of this machine that are very similar. So you've got your kick pedal down here to your JCB, spin round. You've got a grab handle here to help you turn. I like that. That's a good little move, especially when you're in the rough. And then, yeah, proportional rollers on your, these ones aren't, that's the proportional one. You've got your radio controls down here. It's quite an interesting idea. So quite like the idea of being able to, you know, raise and lower my radio as required. This side, a couple more switches, nothing really out of the ordinary. The stabilizers are right over here. I think I'd probably get used to that, you know, because you don't want to be reaching all the way forward, and of course they've got another cup holder, which is most welcome, but I think I could get used to them there. It's just a different layout. You know, you've been used to a certain machine for a long time, and they're a different layout. But you see what I mean about how, like, my legs are stretched right out here. I'm nearly 6 foot. I can barely reach it out the windscreen, and I just feel like I can't see with this bar here as well over into the excavation a bit. But there's a lot of room in this, and you do get extra room here for your feet as you turn, which is nice. My only other thoughts on it were the cool box doesn't open very far. You know, I'd struggle to get, it's deep enough, but you'd struggle to get a sandwich or a bottle of Coke or anything really in there, because it doesn't open far enough for me. You know, I'd like it to open up so I can get into there. But small things, as I say, there's elements of it that are nice, and elements of it that aren't quite so good. Now, someone was saying about the joysticks, something dropping down or something when you turn the wheel. I haven't tried that. See, yeah, that's nice. So they're not wrong. You have the wheel in the right place. You want to turn, you kick your thing, and as you spin, which is tricky on this plastic, but as you spin round, the wheel automatically raises up, which is a nice touch. So, yeah, they've thought about some things, and they've come up with some solutions that are inherently on these easy control backhoes, and I like their idea. If I've got the seat in the right place, I'm not sure visibility to the front bucket is really much better. These two stickers are right in the way. it's quite a lot going on here, and visibility to that front bucket isn't actually all that good. I mean, if you were raised up a bit, it would help, but yeah, that's currently my thoughts on the Hydromet, really. So we come to the steel wrist stand, see the X02 tilt rotator from Steel Wrist. This one is displayed on a ET18 Wackeneusen, but this is now possibly one of the lighter of the tilt rotators on the market. The plate is telling us 85 kilos. I've just been over to Encon for the new ECO2, and that's, well, it's coming in at 95 kilos. So that plus even the 10 kilo top hitch is coming in nice and light, probably saving at least 10 kilos there over what the Encon setup is. So that's quite interesting. I mean, 10 kilos, not a huge amount. Don't know what the actual angle on these. I think mine does 40 degrees. Don't know what the Steel Wrist one does, but it looks a nice little unit. It's all cast on here. I think it's possibly slightly taller. It'd be difficult because it's at this angle to really get the measure for it, but a very neat little unit from Steel Wrist, and it's great that they finally got a nice S30 system available to buy. It's always been a slightly bigger X04 unit on S40 over there. So yeah, I've always liked the profile of the buckets as well. I think they make a lovely looking bucket, and they've got the hangers on as well for hanging off of your grading bucket, carrying them around. Yeah, I like Steel Wrist, and it's great that they've now got a product that suits my kind of market, the towable, keep it lightweight tilt rotators. Good to see. So this is the Auger Talk cone crusher bucket in the metal. Now they're saying on a bit of paper here, try and get it in the shadow so you can maybe read it, it is suitable for 3 to 10 ton excavators. Now that's a massive range of machines, and it's the same product for that, and obviously you're not going to get the right output, the same output on a 3 tonner as you would on an 8 or a 10 ton. But my thinking here is that I could run this predominantly on the 3CX, kind of run it in for the day to do the crushing and then run it back home again. It would power it well, it would carry it well, and of course do most of the digging and stuff with the 3 tonner. But if I had to get it in a small garden, I could potentially crush with the 3 tonner, although at a much reduced output. That's my thinking, and there's not many crusher buckets that have that ability over different weight classes. A couple of headstocks would make that work. Now, it's an auger drive unit that are well known from Auger Talk and tried and tested for a long time, and it only has this one moving part. So we've got this cone in here. That's it. They'll do a refurb service on this cone. They reckon through their testing that the shell hasn't been so much the issue. It's been the cone that wears, and they've put tungsten carbide extra wear parts and everything on it, a bit of hard facing, but they'll actually refurb this cone. They reckon it takes 2 minutes to pull it off, single bolt, and 700 quid I think is their sort of refurb service. They'll take your old cone away and give you a new refurbished one. So that's not so bad, and they're saying you get 150 to 200 hours of crushing out of that, depending on what you crush. And this is the thing with these buckets, everything depends on what you crush and how you crush. So if you're doing a lot of rebar, clearly that's going to be no good really. You're going to get a lot of it wrapped up. But what they are saying, if you get a bit of rebar, is you can kind of go one way a bit and then the other way and kind of shimmy it like this, and that stops the rebar from getting down and jammed in and tied up around the cone. So I think different techniques, but of course a lot of what I do isn't big reinforced slabs and stuff. Just seen it in action here. Ed's just doing a little bit of maintenance on his Knox over there, bless him, bit of cleaning, the hashtag polishers. But he has just demonstrated it for us, and it looked like there was a lot of material here getting kind of caught up and stuck down here, but when you actually look in the cone, when he sort of showed it to us after he crushed, it had gone through very well. Now that is to say that the gear that he has here is of course looking pretty good crush as it stands. I mean, there isn't that many big lumps, there's no fence posts, to you and me that would be, it's like 6F2 that's been delivered, it's already kind of gone through a crusher itself. So it's all very well crushing it then down to like 6F5 size or type 1 size. But, the reality is on site, gear would be bigger than that. So we'll see. I'm interested in it. The price point is very good, very competitive, especially bearing in mind you can put it on a kind of 8-ton class machine. But it does have a few downsides. It really depends on the type of material you're working in. But an interesting product nonetheless. That's Steve Williamson. You're right, Steve. Steve's not very chatty today, Ed. What's going on with that?
Today, is he?
He's a bit quiet, yeah.
I told him to stay off the sauce.
Yeah, you know what it's like. And take a Scotsman to water.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was just saying about the bucket and things. So you do get a bit of gear back here that kind of sits in the bottom of the bucket, and it looks a lot worse than it is. I know you've still got some material in it from sorting out this little leak it had, but but it seems to clear itself, you know, every cycle as such. You know, it's been good.
This is the demonstration unit. And these bars, as you can see, they did take a couple of these out just to see how better, if it would perform any better, or see what the size of material was like coming out. Like, I think this is a little bit vulnerable, but as you can see when it was on the Knox unit, because you've got these 3/4 hoses going up into these fittings, and they're quite heavy fittings.
Yeah, the gauge,
so as I was picking up, twisting and turning, obviously that's a vulnerable point to snap the bend, and you have to watch things like that. But going into the boom works fine. I do like it. I think it's a cracking concept for its money. I think, you know, if you're just doing your own stuff with your own machine and you've got a little bit of stuff to break up, I think it's a nice little thing to have.
There's a lot less moving parts, and I have to say the price is very, very appealing. So they're gonna give me a go with it. I think on the try it on the 3CX. And
because
give it a go at some of the rubble we got at the farm.
Because the thing is, you've got basically the same drive as what's in the earth drill.
Yeah.
And it's basically turned around the opposite way in this one. So the torque you've got is very good.
Yeah.
And maintenance-wise, simply a bolt at the front.
Yes, they said you can exchange the cones in a couple of minutes, really. It doesn't take very long at all.
Anything that's a bit hard facing and strong, you can weld on the drum. You know, you're a bit handy with a welder, you think of things, I suppose. You know? Nuts, bolts, whatever's in the workshop.
Stick a cement mixer on the front of it for extra bit of purpose. Dual use.
I just think it's a good value for money product. I really do. And the Whacker seems to power it pretty good, considering you only get 70 litres a minute through.
Okay, that's interesting, because so my 3-tonner would put out 60 litres a minute, and I did wonder how it would perform at that lower end, you know, because it says it goes from 3-ton to 10. Well, I mean, huge range there, right? Clearly it's not going to do as well on a 3 as it would on an 8 or a 10, but if you're only getting 70 to it anyway, I mean, there'd be a good bit of pressure there, mind. Probably more than what my 3-tonner would put out, but
I did run this on a Takeuchi TB260.
Okay.
And it ran very well. So, and that was with single acting line as well. So it did run really, really well, I thought. But that's only putting out 70 litres a minute, so it's not fantastic, but it's coping fine. So
apart from I asked you to do twiddle it around and get that big lump, and we shouldn't probably have been doing too much twiddling.
Obviously, a big lump like that is because of the shape.
You've got to get it into the
The thing is, what people have got to be mindful when using this, it's also a lot to do with the angle you're using it on, and of course, when you're scooping up, it's basically the weight pushing down into the drum, you know, to turn it. We had it in Baumer, and we just had a couple of flat block paving bricks, and we slotted them on there, and of course the way they were sitting, there wasn't much weight in them, and it was just, you know,
makes sense. Well, no, good to see it in action. It's nice.
Yeah, I think you get on well with that, Ollie. I really do. I think it'd be a good one for you.
So we come to another Chinese manufacturer, Lugon. They, I think, in my opinion, overall, are probably the leaders from the quality standpoint I've seen and the design. These little 27Fs, I won't go into them. This is actually the electric machine here, but I did have a look at the diesel one at Hillhead's one over there, and they're a great machine. So if you want to see what I thought of that machine, go and check out the Hillhead video. But Jason, I think you've got an affinity for this 13 because the curtain. It's all about the curtain, and really, you know,
got suction cups.
You don't
a new entry into the 2023 edition.
Yeah, of the curtain, the suction cup on the curtain.
Yeah.
There's also a blind on the front. So really, for the kind of work you do, when you do a lot of sleeping all day, this is ideal.
Have a little nap.
You don't get that in the Volvo, do you?
You don't.
So there is a lot to like, isn't there? It's difficult
For the fitter.
to find anything, again, you don't like on it. I mean,
Light bar.
yeah. They're you know, this one's sold to Aggregate Industries. They're starting to make some inroads into some of these, especially these bigger machines going into demolition, and it will be interesting to see how they fare. Yeah, it's very much the same though. How well will they last? How well will the backup go? And I mean, Lugon have got a huge facility in Portsmouth, which isn't all that far from me, of course. But we have to see how parts backup is on these machines, and really they're a little bit competitive. They are competitive compared to the major, you know, existing established brands. And there's a lot of ex-JCB designers now working with them and engineers to really bring these machines up to sort of European market standards. I had a look at the 8-tonner yesterday, and you know, that's a machine. You look at the 2.7, that's a really nice sort of machine. Very, very similar again to the Kubota. You can't really pick a lot of fault with it, but the 8-tonner is, 9-tonner over here is not quite there yet for me. A few things in the cab that you just go, it's just a little bit of China in it, you know. It's a bit of it's just not quite there, and they need to work on these machines to really get them up to where the rest of the world is going with machinery. But you know, not a bad machine, and I dare say for, you know, probably 5 or 6 grand less, maybe they're a bit more. You know, looking at it, great size arm, you know, cab's decent. It's just small details on quality really with this stuff, and some of the machines aren't quite as good as others. The 27 is definitely where it's at, but that's my kind of feeling really on Lugon. I think they'd be, if they can prove parts back up and service engineers and all of those things, then I think they're probably in the lead in the UK for me at the moment. So we're here at Kubota, great range of machines on offer, and a nice cool marquee, which is most welcome from the sun. And this is the new KX85 now, -5, which has replaced the KX080-4 Alpha 2, I think, was the model numbers we got to in the end. And really small improvements have been the key of the day here. They haven't changed massively the machine. It was always a very popular machine, and you know, fundamentally, you're tripping over the barriers. You know, drove well enough. Now, I always had a criticism with this machine. I drove the Alpha version back in about 2018, I think, when that first came out, and had an issue with tracking and flow sharing. It almost dived off very steep when you use the arm, but they have fixed that. They now use 2 slices in the valves to solve that. That was actually fixed for the Alpha 2. But they've made some subtle tweaks to the hydraulics on this, mainly improvements in slewing with heavy attachments like the rotor tilt, and some other smaller details. Just open up the hood. I mean, it's very similar really to the machine that, you know, everyone knows. This is a very popular size of 8-tonner, and Kubota sell a lot of these. It's unfortunately the market leader. I mean, I've always liked, you know, you can still fill it up from a jerry can, nice and easy. Visibility has been improved with more streamlined plastics and coming out down the front here, which is good to see. Things around the back, they've installed a new rear camera, and it's actually part of the bodywork, which should keep it pretty tidy, and it sits within the counterweight, so that's quite a nice little touch there. You've got Nordic, these are the Nordic lights, LED lights on here, and they've got diffused ones in certain areas to stop you from blinding your banksman, you know, but they've got clearer ones on the front. It's been well thought out, you know, the little details on this. They all come in high spec now with double lines to the end of the dipper. But the main improvements really have been inside the cab here, where they've used the same cab frame, but due to slimlining the plastics and some other little tweaks, have managed to make it quite a bit wider, and certainly a lot wider feeling. Full tracking pedals in here, and most notably, when running, reportedly, a 3 decibel reduction in sound, which is significant. This one's obviously running the SVAB joysticks from Rotor Tilt, but you've got quite a bit going on here with the Rotor Tilt control system and obviously iDig's system in here as well. But otherwise, this is very similar to that. I think the U50-5 that I tested, you've got an air-sprung seat in here though, which is a nice touch, again, as standard. Key controls, throttles, your radio back here. I mean, a typical Kubota really, everything is very, very well laid out. And these track pedals are, you know, nice, and, you know, you can use them all day long, no problem. And the air seat is actually down in this, so, you know, I'd like to sit a little bit higher if I could. But, you know, it's not too bad. You can track with these nicely. You've got nice footrests, they fold over. You can get a good seated position in here if you're on the rough stuff. And yeah, there's plenty of room in this cab. As I say, without the iDig screen here, visibility down to the front corner is much improved. So small details, new vents, they've increased airflow, etc. These are all small things, but I mean, really, the big takeaway here is that it fundamentally is the same machine we always loved, but improved in areas we'd like it to have been improved in. I always complained about noisy aircon. You know, they've improved that. Be nice to give it a go, of course, and I do hope to get a go on potentially this machine in the future, especially with the rotor tilt. It'd be absolutely lovely. But yeah, that's the new KX85 from Kubota. Probably one of the more popular machines at the show. It's been difficult to get it here to film it without loads of people around it. So good to see small improvements make a big difference. So how does the crush bucket work? Is it on like a roller or? Yeah, please. Quite a few. Right, so what's the best way to go?
The crusher's on that button and it will run automatic.
Oh right, okay.
Because it's just running through the auto crush.
Yeah.
So technically you can't really back it off, but if there's something in it that jams, it'll trip anyway.
Okay, so and just retract.
Then play with the setting on the auto crush and it'll do it.
So it's got like an auto crush, where it does its own thing when you press the button on the inside of these joysticks. This gear is a bit sticky. It seems to block up in the jaw. Yeah, it ends up stuck at the bottom where it can't quite crush it. See if we can get some thicker gear down here. Something a bit more bony. A bit more of that in it. It's quite a heavy bucket, but this is a CB8, which obviously is on a 7-ton class machine. It's got a tab boom as well, so she's working hard to throw it around, but it handles it well. Just got to keep the material moving a bit, because obviously it falls down as it goes. It sort of works itself more into the jaw. But I mean, this wouldn't be an unenjoyable job. Certainly seems to crushes well in the last few strokes as it really gets down into it. That seems to really get it. Yeah, that's got that. Yeah, that's nice. Not much left in there. That's a good bit of kit.
Fully electric machine.
Oh,
New out.
lovely.
First outing. So
Yep.
we're going red, grey, red, grey. The tyres stacked, one on top of the other.
Yep.
Red, grey, red, grey. In the box, not on the line, your time won't count. If you drop them, your time won't count. Quickest time. Now, anything under a minute
Is good.
is good.
Right, obviously you're up there.
The Stig has done well at 34.22.
How many goes? Come on, how many goes? First time?
Listen, this is my game. I've designed the game.
That's
so it's
fine.
my
That's
game.
absolutely fine. So we'll play by your rules.
Play by the rules, and that's what you got to do under a minute. So basically, get on the machine, dead man down, 3, 2, 1, go, and away you go.
Do they stack nice and flat?
They
should.
They stack how you want to stack them. If you stack them nice and neat, your time will be slower and you're not going to get on the leaderboard.
Oh, yeah,
If you
okay.
stack
But if they
them-
fall over, you ain't getting anything either, right?
Exactly. So it's a game of judgment.
I see.
Okay.
All right.
Right. Jump on the machine.
Good to see you again anyway,
Yeah,
mate.
brilliant, mate. Now listen.
Give this one a go.
Ollie, I'm going to get you a Digging with Dave sticker.
Oh, well,
All right, gentlemen, yeah? Start back. Okay.
let me get this seat up a bit. Always got to make yourself comfortable.
Okay. Dead man down.
Oh, yeah, okay. So we're going to be 3, 2, 1, go when we're on.
3, 2, 1, let's go.
Oh, that's got more oomph to it.
Red, grey, Ollie.
God, this thing is fierce.
Oh, there we go. Yes, that's stacked again. Now down for the grey. As soon as you've stacked the last tyre, Ollie, hook on the block and your time will finish.
Yeah, we've got to get the last one on yet, mate.
Here we go, it's on. Let's go on the block. 43.79.
Hey, that gets me a sticker,
That gets you a sticker and a bag of sweets.
but it's still not good as yours.
Well done, mate.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Well, what a great show that was, and to be honest, I'd love to do the third day. I think there's still more to see, some bits I wish I'd have spent a bit more time on, but really, Plantworx this year, it's been great to get back to Plantworx. It's been a couple of years, 3, 4 years nearly, since we've had one, so really good to see, you know, contacts that I've made with companies I've purchased from, you know, some new contacts with some companies I'm looking to do business with, and also, you know, for those of you who came up and said hi, it was really nice to meet you. So yeah, hopefully I've had a good, been able to capture a good reflection really of some of the things I looked around, and there was plenty more besides. You can't film it all and you can't get it all into a video. It is a shame that some of the major players, let's face it, weren't here. Not even just major manufacturers, but, you know, Bell, for example, people who make, you know, cement mixers, whack plates and things, normally famous for having a really big stand and a really good stand of small equipment, not here this year, and there are others obviously beside them as well. So that was a bit of a shame. You know, I like to see a good variety of kit, not just all the big shiny machines at Plantworx, and there was plenty of other smaller stuff to see as well. But yeah, I hope to see them again in the future. That would be nice. But either way, really good, say, meeting those of you who came up and said hi, to those manufacturers I saw as well, and got the pleasure of chatting with. Thank you for giving me your time, and yeah, I really look forward to the next Plantworx. I feel like I'm burnt to a crisp. It was really, really hot, and we'll go for a nice, well-earned drink. That's the plan. Anyway, thank you for watching again my videos, and hopefully see you in the next one. Thank you very much.